Lesson 57. Nach. Yosef ben Kisma's students asked him, when will the sign of David arrive? He answered them, when this gate of Aram falls and is rebuilt, and falls again, but before there is time to rebuild it, the sign of David will arrive. Number one now, no. From every single word that comes out of God's mouth is created an angel. Now each and every word splits into many sparks as in, like a hammer that shatters in rock, and the number of angels created is equal to the amount of sparks. While from the original word that contains all the sparks is created an angel who is the ruling leader of the angels created from the individual sparks, and they are his armies. Now each and every angel is designated to be in charge of something. Even the trees and grasses have designees upon them. As the sages said, there is no grass below that does not have an angel above. Thus, each angel receives its life force from its word. And thus each angel receives its life force from its word, and imbues that into the object over which it is in charge, be it some grass or whatever else it is in charge of. Now these two forces, the power of the angel to receive and the power to give over, are referred to as the aspect of hands. With the right hand it receives its life force, and with the left hand it gives over. This is the concept of, it strikes the grass and tells it grow. This striking is an aspect of the left hand. Hence our medicines are dependent upon the torah, as in a healing for all his flesh. Since the torah empowers the angels, the angels give it over to the grasses, and the grasses then heal with the power of the torah. However, one who blemishes his faith in the sages, and breaks their injunctions, has no healing for his ailment, as in perhaps he has been bitten by a snake of the sages, which has no cure. The reason for this is that whoever breaks the sages' injunctions thereby removes the angel's hands, according to the way in which one has veered from the path set by the sages. This is alluded to in, do not veer from what they tell you to the right or to the left, according to the way in which one has veered. If one has veered from the sage's path to the right, one thereby removes the angel's right, and it has no power to receive. If one has veered to the left, one thereby removes the angel's left, and it cannot give over. Thus, by damaging one of the angel's hands, a person has no healing. For the herb, thus by damaging one of the angel's hands, a person has no healing. For the herb upon which one's healing is dependent lacks the power to heal, for it has no angel giving over to it. This is represented by a plague not written in the Torah. This refers to the death of Torah scholars. This means the death that Torah scholars cause. This means that the Torah scholars cause to a person for an illness that befalls a person, for having transgressed the sage's words, has no healing, and one thus dies from the illness. This death comes through a plague not written in the Torah. For things not written in the Torah were given over to the sages to interpret, and we are commanded to obey them. But one who derides their words and doesn't believe in them, because it seems to him that the Torah laws otherwise, will become ill with an ailment that has no healing, and will die from it. There are also sufferings of love that can overtake a tzaddik, and he will become stricken with suffering that cannot be healed through the healing powers of herbs. He is a righteous person and has not damaged the angels. He is a righteous person and has not damaged The angels have hands, and the hands are there for all. The situation is alluded to in the verse. I am lovesick, his left hand is beneath my head, and his right hand embraces me. That is, the love sickness can overtake a person, and this person's healing will not be dependent upon the hands, for the hands are in perfect condition, as in his left hand is beneath. This is alluded to in when Rebbe Yochanan visited the sage. When Rabbi Yochanan visited the sage who was suffering from ailments, he asked him, "Is suffering dear to you? Is suffering dear to you?" He answered, "Not them and not their reward. Give me your hand," Rabbi Yochanan told him. He gave Rabbi Yochanan his hand, and Rabbi Yochanan healed him. Rabbi Yochanan felt that these were sufferings of love, so he asked him, "Is suffering dear to you?" He meant to clarify if these were sufferings of love. When Rabbi Yochanan heard the negative response that these were not sufferings of love, he was concerned that perhaps the sage had caused a blemish in the hands, for which reason he has no healing. So he told him, "Give me your hand in order to assess whether he had blemished the sage's words." As soon as he gave him his hand, he was healed, since these were not sufferings of love, and he had not blemished the hands. Thus he was able to recover and be healed from his illness. This is alluded to, and he draws the mighty with his strength, rising, having no faith in life. Since one has no faith in Torah scholars who are called living, as our sages said, Ben Yahi, son of Yehoyada, if not Yahi, then Yehoyada, son of Yehoyada, the son of a living man. Tzaddikim are called living even in their deaths. On account of this, one falls ill to the point of losing faith in one's life. For no one has ever recovered from this illness, for there is no healing for his illness. As said, one's rectification is to restore the fallen faith and have faith in the bezH. Oh, this is it, this is rising, rising. Having no faith in love, meaning that one who has no faith in the scholars who are called living must restore this fallen faith, by way of which one will recover. From this illness that until now no one had believed could be healed through one's faith, though one will be healed, for through faith in the Torah scholars one rectifies the hands of the angels, and then they are able to receive and give over powers to the herbs to heal him. This is he draws the mighty with his strength, meaning that each and every one of the angels who are called mighty was given back its koyach power, which represents the chavches, 28 phalanges of the hands, phalanges of the hands, through which they are able to draw bounty to all the things over which they are appointed. Then one have as healing, for the words of the sages create and rectify the aspect of the hands. For the words of the sages create and rectify the aspect of the hands. Now, number 2, now restoring the fallen faith is through the aspect of Jacob, which means through an oath. One must make an oath and keep it. Through the oath, one restores faith in the sages. When one lacks faith in the sages, this represents the departing of the sages, corresponding to Pele, wonder, as in, I will continue to cause Pele to this people, Pele upon Pele, and the wisdom of their sages will go lost, which our sages explain to be referring to the departing of the sages. The rectification of this Pele, that is of the departing of the sages, is the Pele of an oath. As in, when a person yafale, yafli, he amazingly makes a vow of abstention through the vow. One rises to the root of the sages who are rooted there, as in plois, wonders of wisdom. One that knows and acknowledges the merits of the sages. One that knows and acknowledges the merits of the sages, through which one restores one's faith in them. This is represented by, I will give thanks to your name, for you have done Pele, on account of which counsels from the distance, counsels from the distance in true faith, that is through the aspect of a vow, an aspect of Pele. Rectification is brought about in faith in the sages. Rectification is brought about in faith in the sages, whose counsel comes from the distance, as in, from the distance she brings her bread. For the words of Torah are sparse in one place, but profuse in another. The sages derive their words from distant places in the Torah, for the Torah was given over to them to expound upon as they wish, by way of the 13 principles through which the Torah may be expounded. We in turn are obligated to have faith in all their words, as in, don't veer from the word. Now our Jacob corresponds to a vow, for he is the prototype of vow takers. As written, Jacob made a vow. This is from the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. The hands of the mighty one of Jacob. In order to rectify the hands of the angel who was called the mighty one must use a vow. An aspect of Jacob, for as the verse concludes, from there comes the roya, the rock of Israel, meaning that through a vow, faith which is referred to as roya, as in a nurture, pasture, faith, is rectified, and when faith is rectified, the hands are rectified as well, as in Dovot figure number 3. And when the hands are rectified through a vow, the lights of the forefathers shine upon a person. This is because a vow corresponds to Jacob's light, and the hands correspond to Abraham and Isaac, who correspond to the right and the left. This is alluded to in corresponding their ancestors. He did Pele wonders, meaning that through the aforementioned Pele, the light of the forefathers shines upon the person. This is alluded to in the final letters of the forefathers' names, bezH, Kuf, Mem, bezH, Kuf, Mem, which are the last letters of the names Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Which is the acronym of B'Shem Kodesh Mishachti, B'Shem Kodesh Mishachti. I anointed him with holy oil, which alludes to a vow, as we see regarding Jacob's vow. This stone that I have erected as a pillar will be God's temple, and he poured oil upon it. Hence, by way of a vow, the light of the forefathers shines upon a person. Hence, by way of a vow, the light of the forefathers shines upon a person. Number 4, now by way of these lights, one rises and delights in the pleasure of the Shabbos. As in, then you will delight upon God, and I will mount you upon the heights of the earth, and let you enjoy the inheritance of your ancestor Jacob. The heights of the earth are Abraham and Jacob, who correspond to the hands, the arms of the world. Let you enjoy the inheritance of Jacob represents seforim. Thus, through the forefathers, together with faith, one attains the delight of the Shabbos, representing Shin Bas. Shin represents the forefathers, and Bas represents faith, as in Abraham had a Bas daughter, as the sages stated on the verse. God blessed Abraham with Bakoi, literally everything. Abraham had a Bas daughter, and her name was Bakoi, as in a man. A man of faith has an abundance of blessings. Number 5, this delight of the Shabbos is an aspect of eating with holiness. Weekday eating nurtures the forces of evil as well, but the forces of evil have absolutely no portion in what we eat on the Shabbos. For this reason, we are commanded to eat on the Shabbos as written, eat it today, for today is Shabbos for God. This is because what we eat on the Shabbos becomes pure holiness and godliness without any dregs at all. One can accomplish with eating on the Shabbos what one accomplishes with fasting, which is to cause one's enemies to fall before him in merit. To fall before him in merit of delighting on the Shabbos, just as one can accomplish with fasting. For this reason it is called the Shabbos, for it has the power lehashpis, to eliminate enemy and avenger. Number 6, the reason why fast brings about the downfall of one's enemies is connected with anger, which arises from the liver. As stated, the liver causes anger, arousing the great accuser, represented by Esau, who is Edom red. He has a grip on the liver, and he is red, which is an aspect of the liver which is filled with blood. The supernal accuser causes accusers and oppressors to be roused and devolve below to overpower a person. They are not afraid of such a person, for anger makes him look like an animal, as in they can be compared to animals. This is because the main reason why other creatures are afraid of man is in fear and dread of you. Fear and dread of you is only on account of the image of God that is in man's face. And this image is what makes a human being human. But when this image disappears, one is no longer in the category of a human being, and one enters the category of an animal, and then one is no longer feared. Now the essence of the image that shines in a human face is the wisdom of the Creator that He gave to man over animals. This shines in the human face, as in man's wisdom enlightens his face. Through anger, though, if he is wise, his wisdom leaves him, and then his image also takes leave. His face becomes downcast, as in, why are you angry? And why has your face become downcast? And when one has lost one's human face, one is no longer dreaded, for one looks like an animal, then one's oppressors oppress him. But by way of a fast and self-mortification, one rectifies one's face and restores to oneself one's wisdom, which is the image that shines in one's face. Then all creatures are afraid of this person, and his enemies fall before him, literally before his face. For the main downfall is on account of his face image. As said, all this is accomplished by way of the fast. For the fast, I subdue. For the fast subdues the liver to the mind. On a day when one eats, the liver is sustained first, and then it sends on the brain, sends sends onto the brain. Thus on a day when one eats, greatness and rule belong to the liver. When one fasts, though the brain is sustained first, and the brain sends sustenance to the liver, thence on a fast day. The liver is subdued to the mind with greatness and rule belonging to the meuman. This is the rectification for one's having earlier blemished wisdom, which is the mind, which is the image that shines in one's face. Now by way of a fast, one has subdued the liver and gives rule to the mind. When the liver is subdued, which is the primary accuser, all the enemies connected with the liver are also subdued. This is alluded to in the letters of Tzoyim, a fast, which is the acronym of V'chatoisi mipunav Surav, V'chatoisi mipunav Surav, I will crush his enemies before him. Meaning that by way of the fast, the liver is subdued and the mind of wisdom, the image is rectified and shines in a person's face, as in yin, her face is shining with supernal lights. Then by way of the image in one's face, V'chatoisi mipunav Surav, specifically mipunav, literally before his face. When one attains the aspect of the lighting on the Shabbos, one no longer needs to fast, for one can accomplish with one's eating what one had accomplished with a fast, which is eliminating enemy. For the eating of Shabbos is holy, and no foreigner shall eat of the holy. The liver is thus subdued and made powerless, as in all powers of anger, corresponding to the liver that causes anger, flee and go away. Then everything is love, as in love of delight. All this comes from delighting on the Shabbos. Number 7, and no, in order to eliminate and subdue enemies, it is enough to fast or eat on Shabbos. However, in order to attain abundant peace, one must also give charity profusely, as our sages said. Whoever increases charity increases peace. This is also the meaning of the reward of a fast is charity. They also said the sun on Shabbos is charity for the poor. The sun one corresponds to peace, as in if the sun shines upon him, just as the sun is peace for the entire world. Thus the sun, which represents peace, comes only through charity for the poor. Number 8, and no, there is a difference between the peace coming through a weekly fast and the peace coming through the delight of Shabbos. The peace that comes through a fast lacks the aspect of speeches, and they were unable to speak with him peacefully. But through the delight of eating on Shabbos, speech is perfected for peace. As in, for the sake of my brothers and friends, I will speak of peace, as in speaking mundane matters stated regarding the Shabbos, for the mouth is perfected with a great light while one eats on the Shabbos. This is the meaning of our sages saying, the only difference between chametz and matzah, leavened and unleavened bread, is a mashio minushum. Chametz represents the rectification of anger through a fast, as in wisdom is coming from Adam with chamutz, blood-stained clothing. Oyedoim corresponds to the liver, as seven above. Chametz represents its subjugation, corresponding to fasting. Do not eat, to not eating, as in do not eat any machmetzes. Do not eat being an aspect of a fast. Represents eating the Shabbos delights, as in so that you will nurse and delight. This is the only difference between chametz and matzah, meaning that there is no difference between a fast and eating the Shabbos delights. The only difference between them is a mashehu, the acronym of bezH the act of charity is peace. That is, the peace of a fast is not the same as the peace of the Shabbos. For the one lacks a mouth and the other has a mouth, and that is the difference. The category of peace that has a mouth is superior to the peace that lacks a mouth, as a speaking creature is superior to a living non-speaking creature. Animals are alive just like humans, but man is superior by virtue of the power of speech. That is the difference between chametz and matzin. The difference between a ches and a halvai. Chametz has a ches, which represents peace that lacks a mouth, corresponding to living creatures. As in the creatures of the field have made peace with you, which represents peace without a mouth, which lacks the power of speech, like the creatures of the field. Matzah, though, has a hay, numerically 5, representing the 5 articulators of the mouth, corresponding to the power of speech. This corresponds to hay. Here for you is seed, corresponding to seed for yourselves. Charity, corresponding to the act of charity, is peace. This is alluded to in a lot. Eliminates strife. A lot eliminates strife. A lot corresponds to the delight of Shabbos, and you shall rest and rise up to your lots at the end of days, which will be a time of eternal Shabbos. Rest representing. Rest representing. He rested on the 7th day. This lot then, which corresponds to the Shabbos, eliminates strife and oppressors, but it also has the power of creating the aspect of the mouth. This is alluded to in a lot, eliminates strife and separates between aha to me, between the hisatzmus, materialization and connection of the stem of the ches to the roof of the ches. By separating the ches is made into a hay, which is an aspect of the mouth. This is what Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma was asked, when will the sign of David arrive? He answered them, when this gate will fall. The point is that it must fall 3 times. And then the sign of David will arrive before there will be time to rebuild it. The gate of Aram represents the gate of the realm of evil. When it repeatedly falls on account of the aspects mentioned above, the sign of David will arrive and rebuild the gates of holiness. That is, when there is no faith in the sages and no one listens to them. Oh yes, they lay a trap for the rebuker in the gate. They lay a trap for the rebuker in the gate. They lay a trap for the rebuker in the gate. This causes illnesses that have no healing, as in they will reach the gates of death. Oh, but when people best faith, the gates of holiness are opened, as in open the gates, garter of faith. Then when this one rises, the other falls, after which the gate of Aram falls for the first time. Now the raising of faith is accomplished through a vow, after which it shines with the light of the forefathers. After which it shines with the light of the forefathers. The gate of holiness is then built a second time, as in lift up your heads, O gates. The forefathers being the heads, as in these are the heads of the ancestral households. And when this one rises, the other one falls, which is the second falling of Aram's gate. And by way of the shining of the forefathers, one merits the Shabbos to eliminate enemies and attain peace. The gate of holiness is thus built a 3rd time in the category of past judgments of peace in your gates, and in the category of charity. Do not oppress a poor man in your gate. The enemies that derive sustenance from the shah gate of Aram are thus subdued, and as in those who sit at the gate speak about me, thus subduing the angry liver, an aspect of Esav Adoim, who is like a coat of sareh, of seor, fur hair. This is the falling of Aram's gate for the third time, until here are the Rebbe's own words, nanach, nachma, meuman. Nanach, nachma, meuman, nanach, nachman, meuman, nanach, nachman, meuman, nanach, nachman, meuman. Nanach, nachman. The following refers to the words on account of the aspects I mentioned above. The Rebbe nachman, meuman left out a few words here that were written in his own manuscript. When he gave me the manuscript to copy out this lesson, he intentionally erased quite a few words that he had written so that I would not copy them. I realized that he had some specific intention in doing this. He did this several times in several lessons. He was very particular when adding over his lessons for copying, erasing from the manuscript many words that had been essential to understanding the subject, omitting words in the middle of an idea because he did not want that certain ideas should be publicized. Whoever thinks deeply into these places will be able to understand that something is missing in the middle of an idea. In this lesson as well, one can see this there, where he writes on account of the aspects I mentioned above. Something which is not his style, however, the idea was written out clearly in his manuscript, but with specific intention, he omitted something in the middle. All of his holy words were weighed very exactly, what to reveal and what to not, and what not to reveal. Well, he was meticulous not to say or allow to be copied even a single extra word if, according to his awesome perception, he understood that he should not be revealed. See also in lesson 58-9 where he writes, the greatness of the upright of the generation is an aspect of the vessel. For the renewal of the torah, as in there is an obvious, there is an obvious omission there, but now you can understand why he erased there some words from the middle of the lesson. There are quite a few other words and ideas that were also erased from that lesson in other places that are not so obviously. Similarly, in lesson 59.6, he also erased something after this is the meaning of a house and a fortune, For the forefathers converted, proselytes, deleting numerous words, and in other places as well in that lesson. The same thing applies to many other lessons that he gave over to copy. The whole thing is a mystery related to sections number 1 and 2. Whoever disgraces a Torah scholar has no healing for his wounds. All medicines are compounds. A certain amount of a certain medicine or herb is mixed together with a certain amount of a different herb, and so on, from various sources. Each and every herb has its specific power, and they are mixed together to form a compound that has the power to heal a specific illness. Thus the main power of healing is with a compound that possesses a synergistic power. Derived from the individual powers that it received from all the various herbs from which it was compounded. It is specifically the power of the compound that is able to heal this illness. Therefore one needs a doctor who is a specialist who knows how to make compounds. If someone is not a specialist, even if he will take the herbs that have the power to heal, they will not have any effect at all, since he does not know how to compound them. Similarly, the Torah is a healing for all things, is written for all his flesh, a healing. But there is no one who knows how to do this other than the sages of the generation. For the Torah was given over to them to expound it according to the 13 principles of Torah, exegesis. It is thus impossible to know anything from the Torah itself other than by way of the sages of the generation who explain it. This is because the Torah is sparse in one place but profuse in another, and the sages may gather, mix, and compound the Torah, explaining it from one place to another according to the 13 principles, deducting, adding, and expounding. Deducting, adding, and expounding, and though something is written in the Torah, they deduct a letter or word, or from it, or add in another place. And thus, explaining the Torah according to their understanding, as it was given over to them. Therefore, one who disgraces the honor of a Torah scholar has no healing for his illness, for the main power of healing that comes from the Torah is impossible to receive. Other than through the sages of the generation, they received the power to explain it. And they know to compound letters and words, which is the main power of healing. For all others receive their power from the Torah, as said. Oy the meuman power is via and compound, which is why it is dependent upon the sages of the generation, for they know how to explain the Torah and to compound the Torah's letters, by way of which all herbal compounds receive their power from the Torah. Therefore the main thing is to have faith in the sages, and to be particular to relate to them with great respect and reverence, even if they seem to be saying something that is not explicit in the Torah, as one understands it, and it seems that they are going against the Torah. One should still have faith that they are certainly doing the right thing according to the Torah. For the Torah was given over to them. For instance, the Torah says he shall strike them 40 lashes. But the sages said only 39 they know, according to the ways of exegesis, and the principles that were handed down to them, that this must mean only 39. Therefore one must have faith in the sages and cast aside one's own intellect and knowledge and rely only on them. For the Torah was given over to them to explain. Lesson number 50 in the Rebbe's own words. The Torah states, 3 emerges from 1, 1 stands on 3, 1 rises between 2, 2 nurse 1, 1 nurses in many directions. Section 1, this means that the well, the cloud, and the manna returned in the merit of Moses. As our sages said, I vanquished the 3 shepherds in 1 month, but they did not all die in 1 month. However, when Aaron and Miriam died, the cloud and the well disappeared, but then returned in Moses' merit. Thus when Moses died in the month of Adar, the well, the cloud, and the manna all disappeared. And it was as if all 3 had died in 1 month. This is they. 3 emerged from 1, meaning that the well, the cloud, and the manna were all in the merit of one who was Moses. Nanach, nachman, nachman, meuman.